The body fell from the fourth-floor balcony at 1:45 p.m., Carlton House Gardens, central London, June 27, 2007. Ashraf Marwan landed on the pavement below. He was already dead. The Metropolitan Police found no signs of struggle, no forced entry. Witnesses reported nothing unusual. The case appeared straightforward, apparent suicide. But Ashraf Marwan was not a businessman. He'd worked for Egyptian intelligence for 35 years. He'd also worked for Israeli Mossad during the same period. One side called him their greatest asset. The other called him a master of deception. The Israeli Prime Minister confirmed his role as an Israeli spy within hours. The Egyptian government insisted Marwan had fed Israel false information. A double agent who'd served Egypt faithfully. 2 intelligence agencies. 2 contradictory stories. 1 dead man. Scotland Yard found one detail that didn't fit. 3 phone calls in the hour before his death. 2 to Egyptian numbers. 1 to Tel Aviv. All 3 phones belonged to intelligence operatives. The calls lasted less than 30 seconds each. The investigation stalled within a month. The coroner recorded an open verdict. The case remained unsolved. The story had started decades earlier. Cairo University, 1965. Marwan studied chemistry. He dated a girl named Mona Gamal Abdel Nasser, the daughter of Egypt's president. Marwan married her in 1966. Palace doors opened overnight. He had access to information most Egyptian intelligence officers would never see. The Israelis noticed immediately. Mossad had been watching Nasser's inner circle for years, but none of their assets had direct access to the president's office. Marwan did. The first approach came in early 1969. A Mossad agent contacted him in London. The meeting lasted 10 minutes. Money, protection, a new life if things went wrong. Marwan could continue his comfortable existence in Cairo. He just needed to share information. Marwan said yes. The reasons remained unclear. He had wealth. He showed no sympathy for Israel. He simply agreed to betray his country. Mossad assigned him the codename the In-Law. His first intelligence delivery arrived in July 1969, Egyptian battle plans for the Suez Canal. Troop deployments, artillery positions. Israeli military intelligence verified everything within a week. The plans were genuine. Marwan attended strategy meetings during the War of Attrition. He saw the maps. He read casualty reports. Then he copied documents and passed them to Tel Aviv. The Israelis adjusted defenses based on his information. Egyptian casualties mounted, while Israeli losses decreased. President Nasser died in September 1970. Anwar Sadat emerged as the new president. Marwan's access expanded. Sadat trusted him even more. The new president appointed Marwan as a presidential liaison. He saw more documents. He attended more meetings. The intelligence flowed to Tel Aviv in increasing volume. Egyptian military planning shifted toward a major offensive. Operation Badr Sadat wanted to recapture the Sinai Peninsula. Marwan saw every iteration of the plan. He photographed everything. But Marwan had been sharing something else with Egyptian intelligence. False intelligence about Israeli weaknesses, fabricated reports, manufactured documents. The Egyptian commanders believed him too. 2 intelligence services, both receiving information from the same source, both convinced of their superiority. Summer 1973 arrived with rising tension. Marwan contacted his Mossad handlers in early September. Emergency protocol. 1 word: war. Egypt and Syria would attack simultaneously before the end of September. Israeli military intelligence analyzed the warning. Egyptian radio intercepts showed normal traffic. Satellite imagery revealed standard exercises. The consensus emerged quickly. Marwan was wrong. The attack date passed. September ended with no war. October arrived. Marwan sent another message on October 4th. 2 days before Yom Kippur. Attack time, unit deployments, crossing points, everything Israeli command needed. The warning arrived too late for full mobilization. Israel's reserve system required 48 hours. Marwan's message gave them less than 36. His previous false alarm complicated the response. Military commanders debated. The argument consumed precious hours. Partial mobilization began, but Israel remained unprepared. October 6, 1973, 2 p.m., Egyptian artillery opened fire. Syrian tanks rolled into the Golan Heights. The Israeli defense line collapsed within hours. Reserve forces hadn't arrived. The thin defense line bent toward breaking. Marwan had given warning, but the warning came too late. Or perhaps he'd designed it that way. Maximum casualties, maximum chaos, minimum preparation time. The war raged for 19 days. The ceasefire came on October 25th. Israel lost 2,600 soldiers. The psychological impact exceeded material damage. Israeli military invincibility had been shattered. A commission investigated the intelligence failure. The report mentioned a highly placed source who'd provided warning. The source remained anonymous. The in-law had given notice. The question remained whether he'd given enough. Marwan continued his double life after the war. Both sides still trusted him. The relationship with Mossad grew complex. His handlers demanded explanations. Marwan provided reasons. Egyptian security had tightened. He'd moved information as quickly as possible. Egyptian intelligence investigated how Israel had mobilized so quickly. Security services began investigating palace personnel. Marwan survived. His position protected him. Sadat's trust shielded him. The peace process began in 1977. Sadat decided to negotiate with Israel directly. Marwan participated in early negotiations. The information still flowed to Tel Aviv. Camp David Accords came in 1978. Peace treaty signing followed in 1979. Sadat's assassination came on October 6, 1981, 8 years after the Yom Kippur War. Islamic extremists attacked during a military parade. Hosni Mubarak became president. New security services, fresh investigations. Anyone close to Sadat faced scrutiny. The walls began closing. Egyptian intelligence finally had permission to investigate thoroughly. Marwan fled to London in 1982. Egyptian authorities issued arrest warrants. But Marwan had disappeared into London's wealthy expatriate community. His wealth allowed comfortable exile, real estate, business ventures, Carlton House Gardens apartment. Nothing suggested a man living in fear, but someone was watching. The debate about his loyalty intensified in the late 1990s. Egyptian intelligence officers began writing memoirs. Some claimed Marwan had been their agent all along. He'd fed Israel false information. Israeli intelligence officers published contradictory accounts. They insisted Marwan had saved Israel with his warnings. Both narratives couldn't be true. Marwan himself stayed silent. No interviews, no memoirs. The silence protected him. A 2002 book claimed Marwan had been a double agent working primarily for Egypt. Israeli intelligence responded immediately. Former Mossad officers gave interviews. The counter-narrative pushed back. Security concerns increased. Threats became more specific in 2007. Phone calls mentioned precise details about his routine. Letters described his movements. Someone was conducting surveillance. Professional surveillance. June 27, 2007 began as an ordinary day. The phone calls came before noon. 3 calls, 2 to Egyptian numbers, 1 to Tel Aviv. Each lasted less than 30 seconds. The last person to see him alive was his housekeeper. She left at 1:30 p.m. Marwan was working at his desk. He appeared calm. 15 minutes later, his body fell from the balcony. The impact killed him instantly. Detective Inspector Mark Williams caught the case. A death in an expensive neighborhood, probably suicide. The initial assessment suggested quick investigation. The first anomaly appeared during apartment inspection. The balcony doors stood open. Papers on Marwan's desk remained undisturbed despite the breeze. Everything suggested a man working calmly. Nothing indicated suicidal intent. The balcony railing showed no signs of climbing. No scuff marks, no fingerprints. Marwan would have needed to vault over deliberately. The desk suggested otherwise. The phone records troubled Williams. The Egyptian numbers belonged to former government officials. The Tel Aviv number connected to an unlisted office. Israeli authorities refused to identify the subscriber. British intelligence informed him the recordings didn't exist. technical difficulties, convenient explanations. The Foreign Office contacted Williams the next morning. A polite suggestion. Perhaps certain details didn't require extensive investigation. Williams understood. Political pressure, intelligence complications. He continued investigating anyway. Building security footage showed no one entering between 1:30 and 1:45 p.m. But the rear entrance camera had malfunctioned at 1:20 p.m. The timing bothered Williams considerably. One elderly neighbor reported hearing voices, raised voices from Marwan's apartment around 1:35 p.m. Arabic, perhaps, or Hebrew. The voices had argued briefly, then stopped. The autopsy found bruising on Marwan's upper arms, fresh bruising pre-mortem. The pattern suggested grip marks. Someone had grabbed him forcefully. Dr. Chen called Williams directly. The marks indicated possible struggle. The final autopsy report omitted the bruising entirely. Chen's supervisor revised her findings. Ministry officials had called. She'd signed the revised report. Williams wrote a detailed memo outlining his concerns. The response came within hours. Case closed. Williams reassigned, effective immediately. The inquest happened 6 weeks later. Open verdict recorded. Marwan's family attended from Egypt. They asked no questions. Israeli intelligence sent observers. Egyptian intelligence operated more subtly. Their agents were present. Williams moved to different cases. The file went to archives. But unofficial investigations continued. Israeli intelligence conducted internal review. Mossad examined their relationship with Marwan. His final call to Tel Aviv had been brief. He'd used a code phrase indicating danger. The officer urged him to leave immediately. Marwan had refused. They already know. They've always known. It doesn't matter anymore. The extraction team arrived at 2:15 p.m. 30 minutes too late. Police had secured the scene. No extraction was possible. Egyptian intelligence conducted parallel investigation. They reviewed his entire operational history. Their conclusion: Marwan had been their agent. He'd fed Israel disinformation. The Yom Kippur War proved his loyalty. Both services published sanitized findings. Both claimed vindication. Both ignored contradictory evidence. Journalists continued investigating for years. Several books emerged. The assassination theory gained strongest support. Erased recordings, missing footage, modified autopsy report. Someone had eliminated Marwan deliberately. Egyptian intelligence had motive. Mossad had motive. Russian intelligence had motive. Palestinian groups had motive. The suicide theory never gained traction. The accident theory appeared even less credible. A British journalist proposed Marwan had been writing his memoir. The manuscript would expose Soviet operations. Russian services decided prevention was necessary. No manuscript was ever found. Williams retired from Metropolitan Police in 2015. He'd never forgotten the Marwan investigation. He gave one interview after retirement. He couldn't prove homicide, but he knew suicide was wrong. A former Mossad officer contacted Williams privately. The officer had worked with Marwan in the 1980s. They met in South London. Marwan's last call had contained more than danger warning. He'd provided specific information: names, locations, operations, everything he'd learned over 40 years. The information suggested Marwan had been positioning himself for final revelation, maximum impact. He'd planned to expose both sides simultaneously. But someone had discovered his plan. Someone had moved first. Williams asked who killed him. The officer shook his head. He didn't know. Multiple parties had reason. The officer provided one final detail. Marwan had mentioned a safe deposit box, London Bank, undisclosed location, contents unknown. Proof of everything. Williams investigated. Banks refused information without court orders. Court orders required open investigation. The case was closed. The safe deposit box remained theoretical. The box became an obsession for intelligence professionals. Egyptian intelligence searched systematically. They checked every major institution. Nothing emerged. Mossad conducted parallel search. They found several boxes in Marwan's name. The boxes contained nothing significant. But one detail troubled analysts. All boxes had been opened before 2000, nothing newer. A newer box existed under different identity. The search expanded to offshore banking. The complexity increased exponentially. Intelligence services couldn't raid every bank in London. A former MI6 officer named Richard Kelsey launched independent investigation in 2012. He found Marwan's solicitor. The conversation was carefully worded. Banking confidentiality extended beyond death. The solicitor knew something. The knowledge carried weight. Kelsey investigated Marwan's final weeks, phone records, credit card statements. Marwan had visited his solicitor on June 15th, 2 weeks before his death. He had made substantial cash withdrawals in early June, £20,000. His travel patterns changed. Day trips to several cities. Each trip lasted only hours. Kelsey obtained surveillance footage from train stations. Marwan had been conducting counter-surveillance. Professional concern. He'd believed someone was watching. The precautions had ultimately failed. One security guard recalled a diplomatic vehicle visiting Carlton House Gardens in early June. The car had waited 30 minutes. No one had exited. Someone had been conducting reconnaissance. Academic researchers entered the investigation in 2015. 2 historians from Cambridge. They'd been writing comprehensive biography. Their research uncovered something previous investigators had missed. Marwan had maintained relationship with a Lebanese banker. The relationship dated back to the 1970s. The historians located the banker in Beirut. He confirmed Marwan had used Lebanese banking services. The banker made one significant statement. Marwan had been convinced both sides would kill him eventually. So he'd taken insurance, documentation that would be released upon his death, automatic release, time delay built into the system, years perhaps. The biography was published in 2017. Intelligence services in 3 countries read it immediately. New searches began. Both services reached same conclusion. If Marwan had used Lebanese banking, he'd likely chosen small, family-owned institution. 3 institutions fit the criteria. Intelligence services maintained surveillance. They hoped for mistakes. Meanwhile, different theory emerged. Perhaps the documentation didn't exist. Perhaps Marwan had bluffed. But someone had killed him anyway. The Lebanese banker died in 2018. Heart attack. Natural causes confirmed. His death removed crucial potential source. Then, in 2021, something unexpected happened. A Lebanese banking firm in London announced closure, liquidation. The firm was one of the 3 suspected institutions. 3 months into liquidation, administrators filed court notice. They'd found unclaimed safety deposit box, rental prepaid through 2025, box holder could not be located. The box was registered to a Cypriot shell company dissolved in 2010. Precisely the arrangement Marwan would have used. Court hearing was scheduled. Intelligence services could not prevent it. British law required transparency. The box would be opened, contents documented. November 12, 2021. High Court. Court-appointed official opened the box in judge's presence. The box contained a USB drive, a single USB drive, standard consumer model, no labels. The judge ordered examination by forensic analyst David Morrison. Morrison connected the drive to isolated system. 23 PDF files. Dates ranged from 1969 to 2007. He opened the first file. Arabic, Egyptian government formatting, classified material. Morrison stopped immediately. He contacted the court administrator. Within 24 hours, everyone knew. Emergency closed hearing scheduled. Representatives from 3 intelligence services appeared. British MI6, Egyptian intelligence, Israeli Mossad, each argued for custody. The judge faced impossible decision. Compromise emerged. The drive would remain in British custody. MI6 would examine contents, summary report provided to Egyptian and Israeli services. Detailed contents remained classified. MI6's analysis began immediately. The document spanned Marwan's entire intelligence career. Egyptian military plans from 1969, Israeli operation reports from 1971, Mossad transcripts from 1973. The archive was comprehensive, devastatingly detailed, but the documents showed something unexpected. Marwan hadn't been double agent in traditional sense. He'd been triple agent, working for Egypt, working for Israel, and working for himself, playing all sides simultaneously. The 1973 documents revealed the truth. Marwan had warned Israel, but ensured the warning came too late. He'd given Egypt confidence in surprise, but guaranteed Israel wouldn't be overrun. He'd engineered bloody stalemate, precisely what he'd intended. The reason emerged from his personal notes. Marwan believed only devastating conflict would force peace negotiations. Egypt needed military success. Israel needed severe casualties. Both sides needed shock. Both sides needed motivation to negotiate. He'd manipulated intelligence flow to create optimal conditions. 2,000 Israeli dead, 8,000 Egyptian dead, 10,000 Syrian dead, all necessary for peace process. The documents revealed something else. Soviet intelligence had known about Marwan from the beginning. They'd allowed it to continue. Soviet interest aligned with Marwan's objective. The archive included KGB communications confirming this arrangement. But the archive contained one more revelation. Files dated June 2007, days before Marwan's death. He'd documented his own assassination, the planning, the preparation, the authorization. He'd penetrated the operation against him. The assassination had been joint operation, Egyptian intelligence, Russian SVR, coordinated action, eliminate liability before documentation release. Marwan had learned about the operation through remaining sources. He'd documented everything. The Egyptian officer who'd proposed it, the Russian officer who'd approved it, the operational planning. He'd known they were coming. He'd prepared the safety deposit box, the USB drive, the delayed release mechanism, everything designed to ensure documentation survived. But he'd miscalculated. He'd believed threatened exposure would deter assassination. The threat hadn't worked. They'd decided to kill him anyway. They'd gambled they could find and destroy the documentation. They'd searched for 14 years. They'd failed. The MI6 report summarized all findings, 20 pages, top secret, distributed to Egyptian and Israeli intelligence. Egyptian response came within days. Formal denial. The documents were fabricated. Israeli intelligence responded differently. Partial acknowledgement. Russian intelligence said nothing. MI6 faced decision. Destroy the drive, or release selectively, or release everything immediately. The debate lasted weeks. Meanwhile, leaks began. Someone contacted journalists. The Guardian published first story in December 2021. New evidence in Ashraf Marwan case. Other outlets followed. The story spread globally. Public pressure for disclosure built. Cabinet decided on controlled release. Academic commission would review. Selected materials would be declassified. Timeline projected 3 to 5 years. The academic commission began work in January 2022. They discovered additional files hidden in unused space, deleted files recoverable, personal communications, diary entries. The personal materials revealed Marwan's psychology, his motivations, his guilt. The Yom Kippur War casualties haunted him. 20,000 dead. Peace hadn't brought comfort. Success hadn't erased the cost. His final diary entry dated June 25th, 2 days before death. He acknowledged his crimes, the betrayals, the deaths. He didn't seek forgiveness. He sought understanding. The commission completed work in March 2024. 500 pages. Detailed analysis. Recommendation for declassification of selected materials. Cabinet-approved release in June 2024. 100 documents declassified. Published online. September 15th, 2024, arrived with unprecedented media coverage. The documents went online at 10 a.m. The website crashed immediately. Emergency servers came online by noon. The first revelations appeared within minutes. The New York Times led with triple agent status. The Guardian focused on assassination plot. Al Jazeera emphasized Egyptian perspective. Israeli media split between vindication and concern. 3 revelations generated intense debate. First was Marwan's manipulation of the Yom Kippur War. The second was Soviet involvement. Third was assassination documentation. British government faced pressure for criminal investigation. Scotland Yard announced reopening September 18th. Egyptian government denied all allegations, refused cooperation. Russian response was sophisticated. They denied nothing, confirmed nothing. The Egyptian intelligence officer named was Brigadier General Hassan Khalil. He'd retired in 2015. Egyptian prosecutors opened investigation. British authorities requested extradition. Khalil gave one interview. He denied direct involvement. The Russian SVR officer was Colonel Dmitry Volkov. He'd retired in 2010. Russian government refused cooperation. Volkov vanished from public view. British prosecutors faced obstacles. Primary suspects lived in countries refusing cooperation. Building criminal case seemed impossible. But civil litigation offered different avenue. Marwan's family filed wrongful death lawsuit. Meanwhile, intelligence community faced internal reckoning. Retired officers began publishing memoirs. Everyone wanted to explain. One retired Mossad officer revealed crucial detail. Mossad had suspected triple agent status by 1990. Decision was made to continue relationship anyway. Academic conferences focused on Marwan's case throughout 2025. No consensus emerged. Some argued he'd been visionary. Others condemned him absolutely. Middle position acknowledged complexity. Detective Williams followed developments closely. Vindication felt significant. His investigation had been correct. He gave interviews. The Metropolitan Police faced uncomfortable questions. Current investigation made limited progress. Case was 17 years old. Evidence compromised. Witnesses unavailable. Suspects protected. Prosecutors doubted conviction was possible. Marwan's widow, Mona, gave one interview. Egyptian television, 2025. She refused to judge him. She said judgment belonged to history. The USB drive remained in secure storage. National Archives, preserved as historical evidence. Technology experts noted the timing. 5 years earlier, documents might have been unreadable. 5 years later, they might have been cloud-stored, easier to discover and destroy. Marwan's delayed release mechanism had worked. Documentation survived, remained hidden during initial searches, emerged when investigation had quieted, achieved public disclosure. But justice remained incomplete. Criminal prosecution failed, civil litigation dragged, responsible parties escaped accountability. Perhaps that was intelligence work reality. Operations continue regardless of exposure. Individuals die while institutions persist. The archives remained online, accessible to anyone. The complete story would never be known. Too many participants had died. Too many documents remained classified. But essential truth was established. Ashraf Marwan had been triple agent. He'd deceived multiple services simultaneously. He'd manipulated the Yom Kippur War. He'd engineered peace through calculated bloodshed. He'd been murdered for his knowledge. His documentation survived to expose everyone. History would debate his legacy for generations. Hero or villain, visionary or criminal. The answers depended on perspective. Objective truth remained elusive. But one fact was indisputable. The body that fell from Carlton House Gardens belonged to man who'd shaped Middle East history. His intelligence prevented wars. His intelligence enabled wars. His manipulation killed thousands. His manipulation saved thousands. The contradictions were irreconcilable. The balcony still exists. Carlton House Gardens still stands. Nothing indicates historic significance. Tourists walk past daily. None know what happened there. Detective Williams visited once after retirement, stood on the street, looked up at the balcony, thought about the case. The truth he'd known. The justice denied then and denied now. He turned away and walked toward the Thames. The investigation was closed again, this time with truth established. This time with documentation public. Not justice exactly, but something. Perhaps all anyone could expect. The river flowed past unchanged. London continued. Life proceeded normally. The past remained past. The dead stayed dead. The truth lived in archives, available to anyone who cared to look. Ashraf Marwan died 17 years ago. His story would survive for generations. The mystery was solved. The mystery would never be solved. Both statements were true. Forever.